All right. Hello and welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk to you about how to maybe do a time audit and then how to cut some stuff to save your life. And I don't mean that in a save your life sort of situation. I mean save time doing stuff you don't want to do. So number one, and this is when I talk to my mentor, I'll ask him a question and he responds a lot. Well, you won't know one of the answer. And it's like, my goodness, Daniel, I've been learning from you for 3 years, 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And you always say that, like, I'm still here. Just tell me the answer. But the answer is essentially like, because I got this fruit, I got this result in my life because I'm willing to do something other people aren't willing to do. And he's a Christian, godly man. And so the first thing is you got to do stuff that other people aren't willing to do. And the first thing is you need to take an account of where your time's going, because you just don't realize where your time's going until you actually look at it. So the first thing you do is for 7 days, you write down every single thing that you do to the minute. From this time to this time, wake up and get ready. From this time to this time, make coffee. From this time to this time, pray and walk around the block. You're seeing I'm just going through my schedule. From this time to this time, emails. And you just do that all day for all the work days and then your weekend, as long as that's a normal week. And then you can feed that into an AI like ChatGPT, for example, is how I did it recently. And it was so fast and it was way better than before. And you say, categorize all of these different things. So be clear enough in your tracking that it knows what you're doing, and say, categorize all these timeframes into subjects, and it will lump the categories you use your time on. So it'd be like family, 1 hour. No, hopefully it's more than that. Family, work, fun, video games, shopping, whatever it is. That's how I found the shopping thing, by the way. I was like, oh my gosh, we're losing a whole day of our life to the grocery store. No way. So you can look at it that way. And then you can even say, all right, so within work, break that down further and make me categories of what I spend time on and how much time. And you can start assessing, okay, with what is called the Pareto principle. And I'm sure at some point, if you haven't already, you're going to run across this, or you already have. The Pareto principle is the 80-20 rule, which is a rule from mathematics. It is a decision-making model that applies broadly, basically anywhere in life. So, for example, 20% of the things you're doing are giving you 80% of the life you want. Okay, so think about that. 20% of the things I'm doing, so a small minority, are producing the life that I want. What would that be? Spending time with my family, teaching my kids, spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife, prayer. Like, there's a very small number of things that you do that are actually meaningful. The rest of the time, it's like, well, I've got to make coffee and I've got to do this and I've got to call this person and I've got to take my car to the shop, and none of that stuff matters. It's the result that you're looking for. If it's meeting Jesus and having a good response for him that you want, you can cut a lot of stuff as long as you can find a way to still get it done, or maybe it doesn't need to be done, you can just cut it. So with that, look at the things on the list that take up a huge amount of time and you don't want to do, and don't do anything for you, and just go and cut those. So for example, how can we cut the grocery store? We figured it out, gone, got a whole day back. So you go, so look at that. And then remember, 20% of the things on your list take up 80% of your time. So factor it that way and say, okay, things I do at work, what are the 20%, ChatGPT? What is the minority of those that take up the vast majority of my time? And it'll say, oh, look, you check emails for 7 hours a day and you only work 8. And you're like, well, that's not right. That's not good. Okay. And then figure out, how do I stop doing that? How do I cut that out? How do I automate that? Can I give some of this to somebody else? Am I doing more work than I should? What is it? And start paring that down with the 80-20 principle. Another example of this is from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week. I'll let you look it up. It's this orange one over here. Anyway, he gives it with clients. 20% of the clients bring in 20% of the inputs, create 80% of the outputs. Well, he's overwhelmed. He's making, in this story, $80,000 a month. And he's like, well, I've got way too many problems. I got way too many clients. How do I get rid of these problems? So he realized 20% of his clients were creating 80% of his problems. And he's like, well, hold on a second here. If I just threaten to dump all of those clients, what also happens to be true, it also happened to be true that those were the 20% of the lowest paying clients. And this is true in ClickMill here as well. The clients who pay the least create the most problems because they don't understand the value of the service. The more you charge, the less problems. You get better clients, the more you charge. So it's always the lowest paying clients, it seems, that create the most problems. So he goes, well, I'm just going to threaten to dump them unless they start following these new rules. And he said out of like 50 clients that were in his bottom 20%, something, however many it was, only 3 ended up getting dropped because they refused to listen to the new communication standards and stop dinging him all the time. So he didn't even lose 20% of his bottom line. He eliminated all of the complaints basically on threat of, I'll fire you as a client if you continue to bother me. So they quit bothering him and they paid their bills on time. And then he lost 3, which he's like, who cares? He's making $1 million a year at that point. What's 2 or 3 little clients that are the lowest end clients? It doesn't matter. So he got all his time back. He barely lost any clients. And he also kept all the money too, just by utilizing the 80-20 principle. So I want to encourage you to use this in your life. And of course, check out the added material here. We'll be putting in worksheets and different things for you to be considering these kinds of concepts. I hope this series, while I know it's on a topic we don't really want to talk about, I hope this has helped to kind of flip your thought process, helped you to flip your thought process on its head and start with the end in mind. That's how we do it with vision, with strategy. That's also how we can do it with our life, to make sure our life is on the trajectory that we want it to be. And I encourage you to allow that moment when you meet Jesus and you give an account to hang over every single choice you make. So with that, Brett here with ClickMill, thank you so much for being here with us. And I will look forward to seeing you in the next course. God bless.